How can one word in a legal document hold so much power? How can a phrase's interpretation influence justice? This is the essence of semantics in legal philosophy. Semantics in legal philosophy is about understanding language and communication in legal texts. It involves analyzing sentences in laws, contracts, and legal documents to understand their intention. This is crucial in legal reasoning and decision-making. As we delve into the intricacies of semantics in legal philosophy, H.L.A. Hart's name inevitably emerges. Hart, a distinguished legal philosopher, is widely recognized for his affiliation with legal positivism, focusing significantly on the analysis and use of legal language. His seminal work, primarily in The Concept of Law, investigates the nature of law and the significant role language plays within legal systems. Now let's take a peek at some of his key points. 1. The distinction between law and morality. Hart proposed that law and morality are separate entities, contending that the validity of a law doesn't inherently depend on its moral standing. This viewpoint has significant implications for the comprehension and interpretation of legal language. 2. Primary and secondary rules. Hart ushered in the differentiation between primary and secondary rules. Primary rules delineate duties and obligations, while secondary rules set the stage for the inception, alteration, or nullification of primary rules. This demarcation enriches the semantic assessment of legal systems. 3. The rule of recognition. Hart advocated for the rule of recognition, a fundamental constituent of legal systems. This rule establishes the benchmarks for identifying legitimate legal rules within a specified legal framework. The analysis of the rule of recognition calls for a semantic review of legal language and benchmarks. 4. The internal point of view. Hart stressed the necessity of assuming an internal point of view for understanding legal systems. This involves interpreting legal rules from the perspective of the system's participants, considering their acceptance and acknowledgement of the rules. Although Hart's body of work is more commonly linked with legal positivism than with broader semantic philosophy, his analysis of legal language and his input in structuring legal systems have left an indelible imprint on legal philosophy. The world of semantics in legal philosophy is diverse, with various approaches used to unravel the meaning of legal language. Let's delve into these. First, we have textualism. This approach anchors its interpretation on the plain meaning of the text, relying heavily on the literal words used in the law without considering legislative intent or other external factors. Next is intentionalism. This approach goes the extra mile to understand the legislative or drafter's intent behind the legal text, moving beyond the mere words to uncover the purpose or goals of the law. Then there's contextualism. This approach takes into account the broader context in which the legal language is used, examining the purpose of the law, historical context, and societal changes to interpret legal provisions. Pragmatism is another approach, one that focuses on the practical consequences of legal interpretations. It assesses the real-world impact and implications of different interpretations in making legal decisions. Dynamic statutory interpretation is a more flexible approach that adapts the interpretation of legal texts to evolving societal norms and values. It acknowledges that meanings of words can change with time. Finally, we have originalism. This approach interprets legal texts based on the original understanding of the drafters or framers, often involving an examination of historical documents and context to determine the intended meaning. These varied approaches reflect the ongoing debates in legal philosophy about the best way to interpret and apply laws. Often associated with interpretivism in legal philosophy, Ronald Dworkin has made significant contributions to the field, specifically through his influential work in the book Law's Empire and other writings. Dworkin's interpretive methodology presents a unique perspective on the understanding and application of legal principles and rules. To get a grasp of Dworkin's approach, let's highlight some key points. 1. Principles and policies. Dworkin's legal reasoning revolves around two central elements: principles and policies. He perceives principles as moral guidelines that should guide judges in their decision-making process, while policies serve as considerations of social goals that can be weighed in contrast. 2. The Herculean Hercules. Dworkin proposes that legal interpretation is akin to seeking the Hercules, a hypothetical judge who weighs all pertinent principles and policies to deliver a decision that perfectly aligns with the overarching structure of the legal system. 3. Interpretation as integrity. Maintaining integrity is at the heart of Dworkin's interpretive approach. Advocates for a holistic interpretation of legal texts and precedents that strives to conserve coherence and consistency in the legal system. 4. Chain novel analogy. Dworkin uses the chain novel analogy to compare legal principles to characters in a chain novel. He views each new judicial decision as an added chapter that the ongoing narrative of legal principles while ensuring continuity and consistency. 5. Rights as trumps. Dworkin underscores the primacy of individual rights over utilitarian considerations. In his interpretive framework, the rights of individuals significantly influence legal outcomes. Dworkin's interpretivism, although differing from traditional forms such as intentionalism, firmly roots him as an interpretive philosopher within the realm of legal theory due to his emphasis on principles, integrity, and the holistic coherence of legal systems. Now let's move on to interpretivism. Broadly, interpretivism emphasizes the role of interpretation in understanding human behavior, language, and social phenomena. In legal philosophy, interpretivism plays a significant role in how legal texts are understood and applied. Legal interpretivism often associates with approaches that prioritize understanding the purpose, values, and intent behind legal texts, going beyond just the literal meaning of words. Legal interpretivists argue that the law should be interpreted in light of its underlying principles and societal context. Here are some key points about legal interpretivism. First, there's the emphasis on intent and purpose. Interpretivists believe that understanding the intent and purpose of the law is crucial for proper interpretation. Next, interpretivists underline the importance of contextual considerations. They believe that the broader social, historical, and cultural context in which the law operates is vital. Interpretivists also often grant judges some degree of discretion in interpreting and applying the law to ensure that justice is served in specific cases. Moreover, interpretivists acknowledge that the meaning of legal texts can evolve over time and are open to adapting interpretations to changing societal norms. Lastly, closely related to interpretivism is the philosophical study of interpretation, known as hermeneutics. Hermeneutics explores the principles of interpretation, shedding light on how we understand and make sense of the world. In conclusion, whether it's semanticism or interpretivism, the importance of understanding the meaning and interpretation of legal texts cannot be overstated. Every word, every phrase, every clause in a legal document carries weight and can tip the scales of justice. This highlights the inherent power and importance of semantics and interpretation in legal philosophy. Transitioning from the importance of semantics and interpretation in legal philosophy, it's necessary to address the criticism these approaches face. Starting with semanticism, critics argue that it can lead to rigidity, lack of context, and ambiguity. They assert that a strict textual interpretation doesn't always reflect the intent of the law and can sometimes lead to unjust outcomes. In the case of interpretivism, critiques often focus on its subjectivity, lack of guidance, overemphasis on morality, and the Herculean Hercules critique. Critics argue that interpretivism can be too subjective, leading to inconsistent interpretations of the law. They also point out that it often lacks clear guidance for legal practitioners and can overemphasize morality at the expense of legal certainty. However, it's crucial to note that these criticisms are not universally accepted. Scholars within legal philosophy continue to engage in lively debates regarding the most appropriate approaches to interpreting and applying the law. Legal theories often evolve in response to these critiques and the changing nature of legal practice, which underscores the dynamism and complexity of the field. As we delve deeper into the realm of interpretivism, we find a myriad of approaches, each with its unique emphasis on understanding the deeper meaning, intent, and context of legal texts. Let's explore some of these. First, we have intentionalism. This approach centers around understanding the original intent of the law's authors. It suggests that the best interpretation is one that aligns with the author's intended meaning. Next is value-based interpretivism. This perspective focuses on the underlying values that the law seeks to uphold and protect. It encourages interpretations that best align with these values. Moral interpretivism, on the other hand, emphasizes the moral implications of legal texts. It argues that laws should be interpreted in a way that promotes moral righteousness. Practical reasoning is another approach that suggests laws should be interpreted based on their practical implications in real-world scenarios. Contextual interpretivism underscores the importance of context in understanding legal texts. It suggests that the law's meaning can only be fully grasped when its societal and historical context is considered. Dynamic interpretation posits that laws are not static but evolve over time. It encourages interpretations that accommodate societal changes and advancements. Lastly, constructive interpretivism argues that laws should be interpreted creatively to construct a meaning that best serves justice and societal needs. These diverse interpretivist approaches highlight the complexity of understanding and applying the law. The choice of interpretive approach can significantly impact legal reasoning and decision-making, reflecting the intricate interplay between law, society, and morality.